In the early 1840s, and shortly after acquiring most of the property that is now known as the city of Manitowoc, Benjamin Jones, considered to be the father of Manitowoc, laid out two public squares. One was an area that would eventually be bordered between North 6th Street and North 7th Street and Park Street and State Street. This would become known as the North Side Park and later Union Park. This lot would cover an area of 3.72 acres. The second area, which was on the south side of the Manitowoc River, was bordered by what eventually became Washington Street and Marshall Street and South 11th and South 12th Street. This would become known as Washington Park. These two areas were the first two properties donated by Benjamin Jones to the newly formed village of Manitowoc. He would go on to donate many of his properties to the newly forming churches and civic organizations within the community.
For many years, the North Side Park was used as the campground by various Indian tribes that could be found in the Lakeshore region. In the mid-1850s, Reverend David Lewis, Methodist minister for St. Paul Methodist Church, had unfortunately built the church parsonage on Park Street, directly across from the North Side Park. He complained that the area was chiefly used as an Indian campground, and many nights he and his wife were terrified by the Indians making their characteristic yells as they danced around a large campfire in the center of the park. He went on to state that on several occasions they surrounded his house, the only one in the area, and serenaded the young pastor and his wife with their high-pitched howls. When not in use by Indians, the park was occasionally used for picnicking by local villagers.
In 1852, the North Side ladies, through a number of projects and programs, were able to raise sufficient money to place a fence around the 3.72-acre park. This fence would remain in place for many years before being removed for one of several park renovations. While the Indian population in the area continued to diminish, Northside Park increasingly became a gathering area for Northside residents. When the Civil War broke out between the North and the South in April 1861, a war meeting was held in one of the local establishments where almost 100 men volunteered their service to the Union cause. Because only one or two men in the community had any military experience, it was decided that they needed practice drilling in the military style before being called to active duty. To do this, the Northside Park was chosen as a place for their daily drills. The men continued to drill while patiently waiting for orders to send them to Madison to receive their uniforms. On July 17, 1861, a group of ladies from the community approached the men as they drilled in the Northside Park. At a heart-rendering ceremony, Mrs. Collins, wife of the village president, presented Captain Temple Clark with a new company flag which had been sewn by the ladies. The men had earlier chosen the name Manitowoc County Guards as their official name. The flag bore the name Manitowoc County, Wisconsin Volunteers. 4 days later, the men left for the war. In 1872, it was decided to use approximately 1 acre of land on the park's far south side to erect a school building. At the time, the land on the park side sloped downward to State Street. Extensive soil had to be removed from this area before work on the new school could begin. The cornerstone for the North Side School was laid in spring 1873, and work was completed on the building by late 1873. At the dedication ceremony, the featured speaker was James Anderson, a young lawyer, politician, and original member of the Manitowoc County Guards. The new school became known as the Northside High School. For the most part, the Northside Park remained untouched for the next 26 years. It continued to be used by Northside residents, but because of lack of care, it began to deteriorate. Then, in 1899, under newly elected Mayor William Rahr, the park received a major facelift. Up until that time, the major trees within the park were old majestic pines. These trees were removed so that the park could take on a new look. A beautiful bandstand was erected to the east of the current circle. The bandstand was a marvelous addition to the park and would host hundreds of band concerts. It would be several years before a roof was added to the bandstand. A network of walkways was added to the park and covered with crushed limestone. Sidewalks to the north and west of the park were replaced. Just to the left of the bandstand, an ornate cast iron two globe light was installed. Then trees were planted throughout the park to replace the pines which had been removed. Some of these trees could possibly remain today, watching over the park for the past 125 years. In addition, a number of beautiful flower gardens were added throughout the park. Most of the park was resodded. It should be noted that at the same time work progressed on the north side park, similar projects were being undertaken at the south side Washington Park. After completion, the two parks were the centerpiece of Manitowoc culture. It was about this same time that the Northside Park was officially named Union Park in honor of the men that drilled there before leaving for the war. Although the official name is Union Park, the title Northside Park is still used by some Manitowoc residents to this day. With the completion of the beautiful bandstand in both Union Park and Washington Park, weekly summer concerts were held and alternated between the two parks. The Manitowoc Marine Band, Manitowoc's official band, would perform these concerts for the next 65 years. After renovation of the park was complete, a Sunday morning church service was held almost every week during the summer by one of the many churches in the area. They included the First Presbyterian Church, St. James Episcopal Church, First Lutheran Church, St. Paul Methodist Church, the Reformed Church, and the First German Evangelical Lutheran Church. In addition to morning services, occasional evening services were conducted by one of these churches. The Manitowoc Police Department received complaints of young boys harassing the squirrels in Union Park. The park was added to the North Side Police walking beat, and within a short time, the problem had been alleviated. In 1913, the Women's Relief Corps of Manitowoc proposed placing a statue of a Civil War soldier in the center of Union Park in honor of all the men who had served during the Civil War from Manitowoc County. While the idea was favorable to the citizens of Manitowoc, no action was ever taken by the Manitowoc City Council on the proposal. By 1916, the summer band concerts at Union Park had become so popular that automobile parking became a problem on the side streets around the park. The congestion caused traffic jams in the area, and cars could sometimes be found parking three abreast, completely blocking one lane of traffic. The traffic problem around Union Park was never solved and continued into the 1940s. Starting in 1917, Union Park was decorated with copious amounts of American flags, in honor of Flag Day. These flags were placed in the park several days before a ceremony on Flag Day and removed several days later. September 1934 saw the installation of swings and other playground equipment within the park, and on September 20th, 1939, an original Civil War cannon was dedicated and placed in the northwest corner of Union Park. The inscription on the plaque attached to the cannon reads, "In memory of Manitowoc County Civil War veterans, 1861 through 1865, presented by Horace M. Walker, Women's Relief Corps, number 53." July 1941, founding father Benjamin Jones was honored on the 100th anniversary of his donation of Union and Washington parks to the city of Manitowoc in 1841. To do this, the city undertook another renovation of the two parks by giving the bandstand a facelift and adding new flower gardens and a number of young trees. On July 4th, 1941, dignitaries from the city and Manitowoc County Historical Society, as well as a large gathering of citizens, dedicated a plaque which read, "The site of this park was the gift of Benjamin Jones, founder of Manitowoc, Manitowoc County Historical Society, 1941." After the ceremony at Union Park was completed, a similar dedication was conducted at Washington Park. The plaques presented by the Historical Society were mounted onto the bandstands at each park. The subject of replacing the existing bandstand at Union Park with a larger one was studied, but World War II brought an end to that discussion, and after World War II, replacing the bandstand was never seriously considered. Band concerts were held only occasionally during the war years of 1941 through 1945. The park did see use by groups organized to support the war effort. Band concerts returned on a regular summer basis in 1946. By the 1950s, Union Park had become an essential part of the summer playground program for the Northside children of the city. These programs, conducted year after year by the city of Manitowoc, kept the children well occupied during their summer vacations. In June 1954, the city removed the crushed limestone walkways and replaced them with blacktop. They also installed a wading pool within the park. Unfortunately, no photos of the pool exist and its exact location is unknown. In 1956, the city of Manitowoc built several new grade schools. Students who had been attending the school on the lower level of Union Park were moved to these newly established grade schools. That same year, the building became known as Manitowoc Lutheran High School. They would continue to use the building until 1967, when they built a new high school on Woodlawn Drive in Manitowoc. Shortly after that, the old building was taken down because of its deteriorated condition. In its place, the city leveled out the ground and installed tennis courts. The tennis courts were seldom used and deteriorated in a short time and also had to be removed. The last recorded concert held in the Union Park's bandstand was in 1965. The beautiful old bandstand had deteriorated to the point it was no longer usable and was removed from the park. In 2017, the Manitowoc County Civil War Roundtable was holding its annual summer picnic at Union Park when it was noticed that the Civil War cannon that had been placed there in 1939 was in serious condition and was sinking into the ground on which it sat. The roundtable contacted the Parks and Recreation Department and asked if they minded if we made repairs to the cannon and the area around it. They responded by saying we could do whatever we wanted as long as it improved the area. With that in mind, the roundtable contacted a contractor to remove the cannon and then concrete the area on which it had been sitting, and then place the cannon on the new concreted area. They were also asked to install 6 new metal poles to surround the cannon on which we could place a chain and a new plaque placed at the rear of the cannon which read Civil War Cannon. This cannon, a 1821 walking stick, was presented to the city of Manitowoc by Horace M. Walker, GAR Women's Relief Corps, number 53, in memory of the Manitowoc County Civil War veterans. It was dedicated on September 20th, 1939, and rededicated by the Manitowoc Civil War Roundtable on June 11th, 2018. The following year, the Roundtable added a 25-foot flagpole and a sitting bench next to the cannon. Then in 2021, the original plaque, which had been attached to the cannon in 1939, was found after being missing for years. This plaque was placed on a stone monument, which was placed at the head of the cannon. Today, the park is used by many church, civic groups, and other organizations for picnics and other activities. During summer months, children can be found using the well-maintained equipment. This park, which was established in the 1840s, is still an essential component of the Manitowoc Parks and Recreation Department. It is the privilege of the Manitowoc County Civil War Roundtable to be largely involved in the historic preservation and beautification of this marvelous park. Thank you for viewing this latest episode of Manitowoc History Review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you again.